That's what I really am, and all I want to be. It may take some time, it may be hard to find, but see me beautiful.
My impression is that he never and wasn't trying to impress anyone. He wasn't pushing anything. He was just talking. He spoke with a presence. I think that's what is the best way to say it. He spoke with his authenticity, and there was a presence, a passion behind him that he felt so strongly about, and he wanted to offer it. So Marshall spent the better part of his life developing this process. And toward the end of my being around him, he started talking about things he was worried about. And he asked us not to present other things mixed in with his process. I was interested in Sandra Siegel's human dynamics. He said, don't mix it in. If you want to talk about human dynamics, say, this is not NVC, this is human dynamics. And now we're going to step aside and do this. And now we'll come back to NVC. He wanted them to be separate. In a certain way, for me, the way I interpret is that he spent his life developing this strong, solid, tall oak tree, had a solid core, it had very specific details to it, and it had a huge heart. Now there seems to be, and this is what he was concerned about, that there's this little fruit tree, and we call it a fruit cocktail tree, if you've ever heard of that, where they graft a fruit tree, and on this branch is grapefruit, and on this branch is oranges, and on this branch it's a lime, and on this branch it's a satsuma. As I understand it, he did not want NVC to be diluted. He did not want it to be adapted to somebody else's point of view. This is Zen now. He wanted really people to honor his legacy and what he had so passionately and dedicatedly and carefully presented to us. And this is a big reason why we elders, I'll speak for me, why I, as an elder, am passionate about giving you some information on how it was and what I understood was important to him. What I like about NVC is how complete it is, how we have self-empathy, expressing honestly, and expressing and doing empathic listening. This is beautiful. It's whole unto itself. If we start to add something in there and mix it up, it's like chocolate milk. You have milk, you add a drop of chocolate in it, and now it's a different color. You can't take that chocolate out. It's now a mixture. Marshall didn't want NVC to become a mixture. So Marshall wasn't just passionate about how parents and children could get along or how schools could help kids or how we can have better relationships. His vision was huge. He wanted world peace. And he worked very, very, very hard with conflict in between countries. This process that he developed was developed specifically for bringing peace to the family, to the world, to the countries that are having difficulties. If we start making it part Zen or part yoga or part NLP or part EFT, these things are not going to speak to the world in the way that his heart so urgent, that's the energy he had. He had such an urgency about what had to be done, and he wanted it done in the way that he struggled very hard to create.
Marshall did not like organizations because he just wanted to work with a few people. and get the word out. So we went back and forth for many years about whether even certification. He just wanted people to share what they knew. And he still offered that, even if you were a certified trainer. It was just a matter of sharing nonviolent communication with what he or she knew. That was it.
I think he was enough of an intellectual to really question and wonder and be curious about things. I think there was something really in him that learning was really important. I'm not sure where the initial spark was for the drive other than the stories that we've heard about his grandmother and his uncle. But I think there was always a curiosity in him. There was always a little wanting to make sense of, and always seeing the world a little bit differently than most, like just a little bit outside the box in his thinking and his way of living. I mean, from traveling the world and really not having much of a home base. I mean, he was on the road, most of the days of the year, and he didn't really like to travel. So just knowing what he was willing to do to get this work out there. I think he saw that preciousness every time you'd go to a workshop and you'd see that level of connection and possible change. And it was fuel for him. It was that giraffe juice he was getting that kept him going. I found that whether he talked to, 300 people or it was just a few, the impact was amazing. And so one time I did a workshop, or I offered to organize a workshop, and there was very few people that came, and I was really disappointed and I felt awful. Here's this guy, international guy coming, and I said, Marshall, I'm feeling terrible because there was such a small crowd. And he said, you never know. There's one person in that crowd who could be a breeding giraffe.
He was always questioning what he was doing. I remember I was picking him up at the airport once, and I had some challenging situations with another family member, not my daughter. And I said, Marshall, I want to give my certification back because I can't handle this person. And he just said, I want to give my certification back because I can't handle my brother. So, so he was so clearly aware of that he had this gift, and he was struggling to live his own process. He was easy in many ways to organize for. He demonstrated a lot of trust in my ability to organize for him. He was always on time, very early. He wanted to be on time to the airport. He was ready to go. Whatever time we had agreed upon, he was ready. He might have given a kind of sloppy impression with papers and stuff around him, but I could always count on him being there, what we had agreed upon. There was for me a growing concern over the years when I saw that he got more and more tired, and I tried to build in some space in his program so he could get some rest. But he would constantly fill it up himself. He could come and say, well, this and that person wants to talk with me, and where is there a gap in my program? And it was really up to him to decide how he wanted to use his time. I could not work like you do. I could say that. I couldn't keep that speed and that intensity. I couldn't handle that. And he said, then he reflected on that and he said, you don't need to do that, he said to me. But I have to. He had a force inside himself. He knew he had a gift and he wanted to share it as much as he could before it was too late.
I want to live compassionately at each and every opportunity. I want to give away the love that's mine to give. I want to live compassionately.